A very good afternoon. It's been a dark, literally speaking, weekend for residents here in Nelson Mandela Bay due to a power outage that started on Friday and has led many parts of the metro without electricity, and you can imagine the trouble that comes with that. Yesterday we got to speak to residents who are complaining, those in an old age home saying that they can't go on without power, those who are students in the Summershine area saying that they are struggling now to catch up with their tests and their assignments with no electricity. We visited a petrol station that was so kind to offer people charging stations, and after that we got to speak to the municipality, who has assured us that they are working around the clock to ensure that they restore power to the NMB. I'm joined this morning by the Deputy Mayor, to tell us more about what the municipality is doing on their side to mitigate the situation, above all restore power to various parts of the metro. Deputy Mayor, yesterday during the press conference you assured residents that the NMB is working around the clock. It's all hands on deck with various mitigation plans to try and ensure that as soon as possible power is restored.
Thank you very much, Lerato. Let me first greet our residents and apologize again for the inconvenience. Unfortunately, it's quite an unfortunate incident, but as the city we are hands-on. We've set up a jog as early as 7:30 in the morning yesterday, and it's a joint operation center between us and Eskom, trying to find a solution. And from the work that has been assessed, we found out that it can take up to 7 days for us to be able to fix what is the challenge. But as I'm speaking to you now, we've just came back from the site, and we have assigned off additional technical staff that are qualified to deal with high voltage power to be on site, so that we try and lessen the days. And the future looks much brighter when it comes to that. Even at Eskom, we did cite the fact that they must add additional staff so that we find a solution earlier than the 7 days. So we are going to meet again at 6 o'clock to check how far has the work gone. With the additional staff, we might find a better response, and we are going to keep our residents abreast in terms of what is happening.
Then, Deputy Mayor, I know that you sent out a correspondence last night saying that there's a transmitter that's been taken from one area to closer to the South End area to try to restore power there. Can you just update us how far that is going, and also will it not then affect the area where it's been taken from, which is the New Brighton area, in terms of electricity in that area then?
Not at all. It's not going to affect them. Already it has been disconnected and relocated to South End, and technicians are working hard to make sure that connection comes up. And once that connection is up later today, a greater part of Summerstrand is going to be restored electricity. We are anticipating that about 70% of it is going to get the connection. And as well, we have set alight Summerstrand South End as early as yesterday by connecting them to brick cloth connection, which makes it an effort for us that is seen by residents, that we are trying to make sure that they are not without electricity. Unfortunately, it's weather conditions that have set us to this stage, but we are trying by all means to mitigate. And currently, we've been trying to procure additional generators as the procurement through rental services have been exorbitant, the prices. So we are trying to procure one for the city, so that even if we are to get to the third day, there's also that mitigation. And we are anticipating that if we can get an additional generator, it would mean that we're no longer speaking of 7 days, we are speaking of all lights up for the whole city.
so much. Well, that was Babalo Lubishi, the Deputy Mayor of the NMB. I just want to just dig into also this conversation. Bernard Tlali, who's Executive Director for Electricity and NMB. Yesterday during the press briefing, they were also speaking of making sure that long term we don't find a situation again. And yes, it was caused by gale force winds that did mess up the transmitter, but also saying that, it's been a learning lesson to ensure that a month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now, we don't find various parts of NMB without power. Bernard, obviously when such things happen, it becomes a learning curve. Yes, we can blame the weather for what happened, but also it's also a chance to take up accountability, also to say that in the future maybe there are things we can learn from this and perhaps where we can try to do better.
Thank you very much, Lerato. Once again, let me greet the residents of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. You are quite correct. We were aware of the problem. It's not that the problem we were not aware of. There are some significant work that we have already done in an effort to indicate then that we have an intention. Yes, of course, going forward, we are going to try by all means to make sure then that whatever that we have budgeted for, at least there is a budget for this financial year, to make sure then that everything is done properly as planned.
Thank you so much. Well, that was Bernard Tlali, who is the Executive Director for the Department of Electricity here in NMB, just saying that it has also become a good learning curve for the department to make sure that going ahead they allocate the budget to fix the aging infrastructure and also make sure that doesn't happen again. And also the Deputy Mayor speaking about the mitigation plans put into place, the transmitter that's been moved now to the southern area, saying that 70% of Summerstrand will receive the electricity today, and going forward they're going to try and make sure that the 7 days is cut short and power is restored again to this metro.